Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2022 Gilbert Northwestern Housatonic Preseason Kickoff Show. To my left, I have Coach Scott Salius. To my right, Billy Richmond. I'm Mike Kurtz, and as you can see right behind me, we have a whole assortment of senior players from this year's squad. So we'll let Coach do the introductions for us, but we're here to talk about the season that's about to kick off in just a little more than a week from now on Friday night, September 9th, down the road at Naugatuck High School. So, Coach, why don't you start by introducing who you brought along with you tonight?
All right, we have a big senior class this year. We actually have 16 seniors. You've seen about half of them right here. All right, we have Devin DeVita, one of our 4-year players. We have Brian Worsman, came out for us last year, 2-year player. We have Andrew Hafner right here, playing with us all the time. We have Grayson Ursoni. Back there we have Freddie Camp. We have Yoedi Taveras. And then we got 2 new players, first-year seniors. We have Jake Tatsbaugh and Isaiah Sanchez, first year with GNH football.
So welcome, guys. Glad you could make it tonight, and we'll move things right along here. Billy, why don't you get us started?
Sure. One of the things, your coaching staff, as we've been doing this, Coach, for quite a few years now. We've had a lot of the same coaches, and they've stayed along, but I've also heard that you have a couple of new coaches this year, so why don't you give us a little information about those guys?
All right, so good. The core coaches is, pretty much stayed the same. We still have Coach Machad, Coach Scarangelo, Coach Jones helps out, Coach McCarthy still helps out, Coach Rines helps out, Coach Chris Salis still helping out, still coaching with us. But we did bring along a couple of new ones this year because our roster size has increased. Last year we had about 33 players, 32 players. So we have an enormous freshman class this year, reaching out to about 20 more players, and we keep picking up more and more. So we needed a few more eyes. We needed a little bit more help, especially trying to develop the younger kids, and maybe half of our close to 50-man roster is new to the team. So we picked up a couple of veteran coaches. We picked up Derek Sheeby, who's been coaching youth football for about 10 years. Coaches wrestling up here at Gilbert, and we picked up Chris DeVita, who also coached with Derek for about 10 years down at the youth football level. And they're coming up and they're helping out with the program this year. So it's nice to have that extra set of eyeballs. Both are Gilbert alumni, so both played for the team. So it's nice to have that alumni on here, and more people to help out with this growing team that we have.
Fantastic, I know, and that is good. And I was looking at some of the roster, and you did see you have a big senior class, then a smaller junior and sophomore class, but then a really big freshman class.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a freshman class like this in years.
No, we're getting close to 20 right now. I had another freshman contact me today saying he wants to come out to play. So, I'm still waiting on one more that's going to start next Tuesday. So by the time we get all the freshmen on board now that school started, we'll be looking close to 20 freshmen coming in.
Wow. Bodes well for the future. So
It does, and they're a good freshman class right now too. So got some good kids and some good talent down there.
So as we open this football season, we bid adieu to the Pequot League, and we say hello to the Naugatuck Valley League. And so maybe you can tell the audience a little bit about what your expectations are of making this transition to the Naugatuck Valley League, and maybe just a little snippet about each opponent that you're going to face.
After being, in the Pequot League for the Gilbert Northwestern program, about 40 years in the Pequot League, is, now going to the NBL after losing all of our local opponents. So it's nice to have shorter drives to the game again. One of the driving forces behind it, to be able to play some of the local teams. It's going to be interesting because after playing the same teams for so many years, now we get a good look at some different teams. We happen to be in the Division 2 of the NBL. They broke it down in Division 1 and Division 2 based upon your record over the past 3 years. So we ended up being the #1 team in Division 2. And we played 3 crossover games against the Division 1 opponents. Our first game, as expected, they gave us Naugatuck on the road. State playoff team from Class L last year that lost 1 game.
Won the NBL last year.
Won the NBL, and we're playing them on the road. When I look at how the Pequot compares to the NBL, it sets up very similar. The top teams are strong, the very bottom teams are weak, and then there's teams in the middle that can kind of fluctuate every year depending upon the talent pool. Very much like the Pequot, where we knew like Valley Regional would always be a strong team, or the Ellington would always be a strong team, but you always knew that Old Saybrook usually wasn't going to be very good, or some of those other ones. So it sets up very similar. Oddly enough, there's a lot more smaller schools in the NVL than there was in the Pequot. Most are Class S, not even double S, just Class S schools. We do face some double Ls. The first time we'll have double Ls in a regular season game. We have two of the schools that we're playing. Crosby and Kennedy are double L schools. We have an L schools with Naugatuck and Wilby, I believe, are the other L's on the roster. And then Torrington is bigger than us, is a double M. And after that, we have Class S Ansonia, Class S Derby, Class S Oxford. So some smaller schools that are on the roster as well. It'll be interesting. We come with, one of our opponents is, we know WCA that we played on Thanksgiving for 4 years. So we got WCA's coming up to play us this year. So we've been playing them. Derby's on our schedule. We had them scheduled last year, but then they couldn't complete the varsity season. So it'll be interesting to see as the season goes on how these teams pan out. We are playing all the Waterbury City schools, so we have Kennedy, Crosby, Wilby, and WCA on the schedule. But I think the one that everybody's looking forward to the most isn't even Ansonia on the road or Naugatuck on the road. It's Friday night, October 28th at Torrington High.
Right.
I know we're scrimmaging them tomorrow, but we look back in the records, and I think the last time that any Gilbert team, Gilbert Northwestern, played Torrington in a regular season game was about 1983. So, and they weren't a regular season, that was just kind of a one-off game. So, that one I anticipate will be in a very electric night between the fans, our fans coming down and their fans coming out, and having that little local rivalry go on. That'll be, this kind of almost makes the NVL worth it. And our Thanksgiving rivalry now is St. Paul. So we now play St. Paul, which is a good team to play on Thanksgiving. So they're, we got some local kids from Winston that do attend St. Paul. So you got a little bit, there. I know Winston's from New Hartford even, not too far from New Hartford. So we got a decent matchup there for us. So hopefully we can get a little rivalry going with them over the years.
Yeah, it is the closest Catholic school, right?
Yep.
That's around here to do that.
Yep.
So,
Of course,
that
near
would
and
be
dear to your heart, so.
Yeah, so I graduated from St. Paul, so it'd be, playing St. Paul on Thanksgiving, so play my old school, so.
All right. Well, thank you for the synopsis of the NVL. We're excited for the transition. Obviously, last year's team was a very successful one, making the Class 7 playoffs. And, this year, tell us a little bit about some of the goals that you set forth for this year's team.
I think with what we have coming back and the talent that we have coming back, our goal is to make the playoffs and win the state championship. We made the playoffs last year. I think those 2 games that we missed because of COVID hurt us by putting us against Killingly in the first round game. Like I told the players right before we played Killingly that this is the state championship game. Whoever won that game last year was going to win the state championship. Killingly beat us. They won the state championship. So our goal is to go farther than we did last year. As you look at the double S bracket that we're now in, it's basically the Pequot League plus a couple other schools. You have Granby, Canton, Ellington, Stafford, Coventry. Plainville is in there. Weston is in there that won Class M a few years ago. So there are some other teams, but getting to that playoffs, and once we're in that tournament at the end, going through and trying to bring home a state championship and state final appearance, that'll be the first one in program history.
All right, and we should note, in case you're not familiar, the viewing audience, that the CIAC has changed the playoff format this year. There are now 6 classifications for state championship play, and there's still 8 teams, though, in each classification, so it's really an expanded playoff roster. In Class SS, I believe there's about 22, 20, 21?
21, 22 schools in double S.
In double S, so, it'll be interesting to, as you just mentioned, that a lot of the teams in that are from the Pequot League. You're very familiar with them, so should you advance to the playoffs, that could be a little bit of an advantage for you. But you can't get too far ahead of ourselves.
No, not too far.
This
One
point.
game at a time.
One game at a time, so. But, Billy, I know you had a couple of questions that you wanted to ask
Sure.
some of the,
Well, it just made me think about that Killingly game. I just happened to, I was going on to look for some new tape of Naugatuck, but nothing was out there yet. But I did watch the Killingly game again, and I just want to talk to these guys a little bit, because you watch that first quarter, everybody, you're right in that game, and right there, and even though you know, the score ended up being what it was, it wasn't, you know, the whole game was not that bad. So let's talk to Grayson. And Grayson, give us your thoughts about what happened in that killing the game.
You know, I felt like most of our issues that game were definitely on turnovers. I mean, you could watch the game and see we had maybe 10 fumbles or more. There's definitely a lot of opportunity there. You know, if we capitalized better on offense, we definitely could have a closer game. But I think we weren't as outmatched as the school. You know,
That's what I know for sure. Yep. And then while you have the mic, Grayson, you know, you had a great year last year. What have you done on this off season to improve, and what do you think you're going to be better at this year going forward?
I hit the weights for sure. Yeah, been in the gym a good amount, working on my strength, speed, gotten a lot quicker, and yeah, hopefully I can throw the ball better and help my team in any way that they need to.
That's good. Let's hand it over to Ryan. And just, you know, when I came up for the scrimmage the other day, we were just talking about the line and how there's been a big change in what happened from last year to this year. So Ryan, just talk a little bit about what you've seen and what progress has been made this year with the offensive line. Let's start with that.
So we lost like Benitez, Vanel, Connor, and a lot of key players, but we got some young players like Adams, and I guess like it's only my second year, but I'm still trying to do the best I can at hopefully playing center. And we got Mambrino, and maybe like Stinny might play.
Yep. We have one returning lineman. Remember who that is?
Yeah, we only had
Right? Yeah.
So,
And then we had one lineman that was starting as a guard last year that moved to tight end. Who is that?
yeah. So we got a lot of new faces, but we're gonna make it work. And we've got to communicate more and practice a lot.
Right, so Devin, that was another one of my questions. So you're the tight end now?
Yes.
Yeah, all right, so tell us a little bit about that move.
Coach decided to change me to tight end. My freshman year, started playing tight end at JV level, and then made my way to the line because you know, bigger body, and then.
And we also had a tight end.
Yeah,
too,
too.
right?
We had a tight end, and going back now, I just hope I can make stuff work on the offensive side for my team.
All right, how about handing it back to Freddie over there? Freddie, you know, I was looking at some of the stats. You ended up with, what did I say, 1,133 or something like that yards last year and 18 touchdowns. What are you looking to do for this season?
Just anything that I can do to help us win games. A lot more of us are going to be getting the ball this year. We got a couple of tricks up our sleeve. But no, we're looking to play more on defense. I want to make a lot of tackles this year and help out on defense as much as I can. But no, offensively, yeah, just do what I can, get my holes. Yeah, these big guys blocking for me. So yeah, we're going to make it work.
And that'll be interesting to see what the speed is like in the NBL compared to the Pequot League. You know, I know last year, a lot of times when you got out in the open, there was nobody catching you. You know, and you wonder about that now.
Yeah, it's gonna be different. Like you said, there's a lot of faster guys, but I'm not too worried because we got some fast guys on our team too. Like Grayson's gotten a lot faster. We got Nolan. Devin's playing tight end now. He's some down a little bit. He's getting quicker. He's fast. But yeah, it's gonna be different with a lot more speed to the outside. But yeah, we're gonna see what we're gonna do. I think we got it.
Cool. Good. Let's hear from Yoedi a little bit. And Yoedi, why don't you tell us a little bit about what it's been like being on the football team? You've been all 4 years, right? Right? You've been all 4 years here. So give us your experience of being on GNH football for 4 years.
I mean, it's been a big change. When I first started, I didn't know how to make a cut, catch a ball. I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't know none of the plays. And as the years have passed, I have learned the plays, and hopefully I can make a big change to the offense now that I'm playing X, how I'm starting. And now
Then, let's hear from the guy, Tatspa, and we seen you before Jake, right?
Yeah.
We seen you play, what, is it basketball, or?
I
seen
used
your
to,
name.
I run track and field.
Track and field. So do you have a brother or something? I remember that name, like, from somewhere, right?
I do have an older brother, yeah.
Did he play basketball? Or baseball?
He plays soccer.
Maybe that's where we saw him. I remember that name, right. All
I'll
right.
pick a sport.
So, yeah, right, swimming, we've done swimming before, we played gun hockey, but, so what made you come out as a senior, for the football team?
I don't know. Never played football before, but I wanted to try it out. You know, it looks a lot of fun, and you know, all my friends are playing it too. Be with them, but I don't know. I just wanted to learn how to do it. You know, just do it for 1 year, even though it's only 1 year. I do kind of regret not doing it my whole high school year, but you know, you might as well start late than never. So
That's right. That's a good point. And, you know, Mason Bradley, right? Last year, you know, he came out his only year playing, and, you know, that third game down in North Branford, and he got in there, and he never came out, and really made a difference. And, you know, I talked to him after it, and, you know, he was so excited and so happy that he did it. You know, he wishes he had more, but, you know, it's good to give that try. And then the last guy, I forget it, who that guy is.
Isaiah Sanchez.
Isaiah. So tell us a little bit about you, why you decided to come out.
Well, I decided to come out to the junior football team this year because I've always wanted to play football, but I've been playing on soccer my whole life before this. I really regret not playing football last year. I wish I was part of the team last year, but I'm just happy I'm able to join the team this year and hopefully prove myself up on the team.
Good.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, we've been trying to get those soccer kids out here forever, you know, and doing that whole thing. All right, now we're gonna ask a couple of questions for everybody and say, you know what, I mean, a few years ago, we had that nickname with that kid Goose.
Yep.
That was one of the best ones, and the other day when I was here for that scrimmage, there was a ton of geese over there on that thing. So
Yeah.
what's the best nickname on the team for this year?
At least I can
So,
be.
yeah, whoever wants it, yeah.
Best nickname is probably Two Scoop.
Who's that?
It's his name.
Ready, two scoop, huh? All right. Yeah. All right, and who's got the best beard this year?
Definitely Devin.
Yeah.
That's shaved right now.
He shaved it going right back. Back to school, they shaved back to school. Taps probably looked like Wolverine a couple days.
Let's see, favorite pizza place?
You asking me?
Anybody.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's your favorite?
No,
Good
Little
choices.
City and Simsbury is my
Who sponsors us? That's your favorite. What about Pizza Pete's? Everybody
Pizza
Pizza Pete's.
Buffalo chicken.
Right, I like pizza Pete's. All right, then favorite pizza topping?
Bacon.
Yeah, bacon. One's bacon.
Meatball.
Meatball.
A little bit of diversity here, though.
Yeah.
No vegetables?
No vegetables.
No.
You can't have that.
No
All
bacon.
right, then who's your favorite besides G&H football team? Everybody.
Giants.
Giants.
Giants, Niners.
Niners.
I'm not saying Lions.
The Lions.
Seahawks? Seahawks? No Pats fans today, huh? That's
I think
good.
that's a
That's
first.
good.
I
Yeah,
think
no.
that's a first.
Hey,
I don't know if you guys were aware of this, but you guys survived the hottest August in the history of the state of Connecticut. Did Coach take it easy on you because of that? No.
I don't remember that. I don't know.
No, not really.
I don't recall that.
and then what's Coach Rhines' favorite football team?
No. That's Michelle.
Are you kidding? You guys don't? I thought everybody would know that.
I know Coach Tom's is a Jets.
Sounds the Jets. Coach Ryan's the Packers guy.
Yeah, he's a huge Packers. Yeah, I thought for sure you guys would know that one. Yeah. Nope, no, that's good. The other thing what do you have? We talked about the offensive line with you, Coach. I guess for you, Coach, what do you think the strengths of the team are right
Well,
now?
obviously, I mean, our strengths are obviously our skill positions. We're too deep in every position. I mean, you know, we could run 2 quarterbacks, we could run 2 fullbacks, 2 X's, 2 tailbacks. Still looking for a second tight end, but like all of those guys, they're all back. I mean, we lost. We got Stimson. We lost, you know, the only skill that we lost last year technically was Thompson as a tight end. Other than that, everybody is back. We still have, you know, 2 of them are juniors this year. You know, everybody's pretty much been working at about 2 positions. So that way, in case somebody goes down, we have, you know, we can spread that ball around a lot this year. We can get that ball to about 5, 6, 7 different people this year, depending on who's in the game and what we're running for formations. Total confidence in all of them. Whether it's Grayson or Nolan at quarterback, I mean, Aiden Avini at fullback, or Ethan Koenig at fullback. We have Yoetti as an X, or Ethan can play X. So we're deep. I mean, we have a plethora of wide receivers. We got Colby Sandin can play split end. He can come in and get reps at tailback too. So we're deep in the skills. And that same thing on the other side of the ball as far as our inside linebackers and our DB goes. So we got Daryl, and Daryl, another senior that's not here today, really stepped it up in the scrimmages, playing cornerback and wide receiver. You know, Daryl coming into the season, you know, planning on using him as a kicker, but he made a hell of an effort those last 2 scrimmages. So a kid like that rising up just pushes everybody else harder. I mean, our big thing was O-line. We probably spent more time this preseason than ever with just O-line. I mean, not even going full team, just having the O-line going down and practicing. And with the extra roster, I mean, we looked around, just kind of looking back at it, it was yesterday's practice. And we did a couple other times. We had 3 different groups going at the same time, which is something we never could do in the practice with the numbers that we had. We had a skills group running plays on air for the varsity. We had an entire JV group running their plays, and we had just the O-line just practicing down there. So a big focus is placed on that offensive line, trying to get them up to speed, because if they can block for our backs, I mean, that's the X factor right there. If we can get our backs into open space, if they can make those holes for them, if we can protect that quarterback a little bit, then they'll come through. And, you know, knowing what our limitations are, you know, not asking them to, you know, in the first few weeks, you know, to be able to do everything in the world, just get us enough to get our backs in these open spaces, let the backs do the work for them, and just get our schemes going. You know, moving Devin to the edge was one of the things that we wanted to do, because, you know, obviously watching we live and die off that off tackle play. The off tackle or toss it to the outside, so having one of our best blockers there at that tight end, that's, you know, kind of what we've been doing for years. Find out who your best blocker is in a 3-point stance, and we put him out there at tight end. And then our offense kind of runs right through that position. And the fact that he can actually catch the ball, run a few patterns, adds more threats to it. Defensively, trying to develop a D-line. Our great heart and soul, that defense, those 3 D linemen last year left, so trying to get some of these first-year guys, all right, up there, all right, get them playing D-line. That's something that's easy. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to learn. It's just aggressiveness and speed off the ball, all right, and you can be able to do a lot. So those are the 2 areas that, you know, whether we win or lose games, it's going to be really on that offensive line, that defensive line, to be able to come up and do that.
And you just mentioned that aggressiveness and speed off the line. That's all you need to do. That's what they did last year.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you looked at that. People, you know, would go, that's your D-line, you know, and looking at those guys. But then, bam, they were making them look silly, those offensive lines, because they get through and put that pressure on them consistently time after time.
Yep.
So, you know, if you can do that, that'll be fantastic.
And one more question for Mr. Hafner here. You're the one returning offensive lineman, so tell the audience out there, what do you think the strength of this offensive line is going to be? You just heard Coach talk about the repetitions that you've been getting in practice, but what are your thoughts on how the offensive line is going to be this year?
Well, I mean, we definitely have our guards are very quick. We have speed on the line, as well as some big tackles to help us block. But yeah, like Coach said, the game on the line. You have to with the line blocks, we win games. So.
All right, thank you for that. And Coach, we know that the freshmen are down at Nonawag scrimmaging tonight. You have a pretty good sized freshman class. Does that mean that you're going to actually be able to play a true freshman schedule, or will it just be those kids incorporated into the JV schedule?
It's the one thing I found out from dealing with the NVL versus the Pequot. The Pequot was much more organized than the NVL ever is. It was always consistent with this with the JV games following the varsity games. Kind of like it's, the NVL seems to be, you know, every man for themselves. So some teams will play more of a freshman game, some will play a JV game. So we can play at any level. We can play a freshman game, we can play JV games, where we have some of the players that are varsity players but not starters would go down and play versus like a freshman type game where really none of those kids are in the varsity game. So it's kind of a week by week basis on what we throw out there for that sub-varsity level. Just trying to make sure we get enough playing time for everybody. If I don't feel that the freshmen are getting enough game time, then I can reach out and some of the other schools around, try to pick up some more freshman-only games. But you have the 6-quarter rule, which, you know, kind of limits what you could do as far as, you know, you can only play 6 quarters in a week. So if you had a kid that plays 2 quarters at varsity, he could play 4 on JV. Same thing with a freshman and JV. So if we had a freshman and a JV in the same week, freshman that played 4 quarters in a JV game can only play, or in a freshman game can only play 2 quarters in a JV game. So you got to kind of balance that out a little bit. So, but I think we'll have a full slate. Last year we had 9 sub-varsity games, so I think we'll have a full slate this year as well. And we'll try to pick up some teams, depending on, like Ansonia didn't have a JV team last year, and they're on the fence whether they're going to have one this year. Derby supposedly has 45 players now, so they say they're going to have a JV team.
They have that many?
According to them, they got 45, so they say they're going to have a JV team. So we'll plug in, you know, any of these teams in the NBL that come up without having one, then we'll try to plug it in somewhere else.
Since you were just referencing the 6-quarter rule, are there any other rule changes that took place this year that you had to educate your players on? Any major rule changes?
No major rule changes this year, so. Still just trying to educate them on the regular rules. They still don't seem to understand something else.
All right.
All right, now we'll go back to the players, and I just want to say, like, what do you guys are all seniors now, so what do you remember about your first year being on the team? Since you have the mic, you might as well start. What do you remember about being on the team that first year?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to play the first year. I broke my leg.
Oh, that's okay, that's a good memory. Yeah, you broke your leg, right? Nobody wants that one, huh?
Honestly, what I remember most from my freshman year was the Granby Canton game, where we just got beat up on really bad. I just never wanted to feel that way again. So.
You got a little revenge last night.
Yeah, right, shut them out.
Oh, carrying up the water.
That was always good, that one.
Oh, even scrawnier than it was before, bro.
I remember my freshman year getting ran over by their old line every single play, mainly by Dylan Keith.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I definitely remember getting beat up by the seniors when I was a freshman on scout. The most, yeah, we were always kind of getting beat up on by them. They definitely didn't show us any mercy.
Anybody have any pre-game rituals that you do every single game?
I don't.
I would always listen to music.
Yeah, I
Music.
listen to music. We gotta go
Yeah.
party in the locker room before we get out there.
All right, and the pre-game, the night before meal, any favorite meals from that? Right?
I go to state.
All right, then this is the last one for all you guys, I think, is, so it's first and goal from the 5, and you're the coach now. What would you call Grayson? We'll start with you, and everybody gets a
I think I'd
choice.
probably call pro rank crossbuck race.
Crossbuck.
That's what you like too?
Yep.
All right,
Me personally, I'm throwing a big red.
He's
gonna catch that.
fine. All right, Devin?
I'm going with the pro right crossbar right too.
Ready?
Yeah, me on the buck is, me on the buck.
I'm going with Kyle or wing right, toss right.
All right, here we go.
Wing right, toss right.
Nice.
I thought you were going to say scissors.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'd probably go with the crossbuck too. It's a good play.
I'd probably also go with the crossbar. This is a play that we have down.
Okay.
Actually, if you want, a little quick story about the crossbuck.
All right.
So their offense that they're running is very similar to what I ran at high school. We're playing the number 5 team in the state, Clap, in Muzzy Field. We scored a touchdown. We scored a touchdown to make it 7-6 in the fourth quarter. Coach calls a timeout, calls the offense in. What do you guys want to do? Kick it, try to tie the game, go for 2. We're going for 2, Coach. We're going for the win. We're going to beat the number 5 team in the state. What do you want to run for a play? Crossbuck right. I'm the left guard. Took 1 step, the center got blown 30 yards back by Tank. I ran right into the center, never blocked the trap, man, stuck for a 3-yard loss on a 2-point play. Lost the flat 7-6. It happens, but that is the go-to play.
It's gotta be quicker.
All right, so I think.
Well, maybe Billy, what you could do is just tell the audience where they can find this preseason interview show.
So we're going to do all of the away games will be on Just Sports Winstead, both YouTube and Facebook. So it's called Just Sports Winstead, and it'll be on YouTube and Facebook. And so all the away games will be there. This interview will be there. The home games are on the NFHS network, and you have to buy a subscription from that, and you can see all those games live. You can watch them live, and then you can go back, and the tapes are all there also. Unfortunately, we can't also tape the games and put them up there because of the contract that they have. So, those the home games, NFHS, and the away games will be on Just Sports Winstead, both YouTube and Facebook.
All right, well, we appreciate you guys coming out tonight right after practice. We're excited to get the season kicked off, as I'm sure you guys are. I know you have a scrimmage tomorrow night, but I'm sure you like to be facing these new opponents from the Naugatuck Valley League, and we want to wish you the best of luck. We know that Coach will have you guys very well prepared, as he always does, and we wish you safety and good luck, and that you guys have a lot of fun and a lot of victories this year on the 2022 season. So on behalf of Coach Salius and all of his players and my co-host Billy Richmond, this is Mike Kurtz signing off from the Gilbert School Gymnasium, and we'll see you out at the field. Thanks for tuning in.